Are you living in an alignment with your highest values, or are you actually living according to someone else's values? Hey guys, I'm Lars. Welcome back to New You. And today we are going to have a deep dive into our values and what that kind of means. So this body of work has been pioneered by a guy called Dr. John DeMartini, and he is an expert in human behavior. And in a nutshell, there's a lot more to it, but in a nutshell, we basically spend our time, energy according to our highest values. And if we're not living by our highest values, then that can create some disturbances. So have you ever noticed, as an example, that some things that you do feel easy, feel like there's zero effort, and you lean towards them, you actually want to do those things? And then there are other things that you basically feel like you are dragging yourself towards, and there's just a major amount of resistance. Well, therein lies, within that gap, information that is directing you towards your values. Why is this important? Well, it's important for quite a few reasons. The most important part is you're living more in alignment with your soul. So what I mean by that is you feel inspired by what you're doing. You don't have to discipline yourself. It's coming with ease. You feel fulfilled, and you feel more resilient to overcome the obstacles that you may need to overcome in order to achieve your goals. Now, the opposite is when you're living by your lowest values. It's horrendous. There's procrastination. There's almost like a low self-esteem. Sometimes you're comparing yourself to other people, and it feels like it's coming more from the ego, and it's not natural. And so what we want to establish out of today's video is how can we attune ourselves to live by our personal highest values and not other people's. Now, a really quick example of other people's will be, have you ever heard of the Keeping Up with the Joneses? So you live next door to a neighbor, and let's just say he's got a Tesla, and now you're comparing yourself to him, and so now you feel like you need a Tesla, but that's not in your highest values. Maybe your highest values is music, and you like to spend as much of your money on, say, a piano rather than a Tesla. And that's just an example of completely out of alignment, and comparing yourself to another person isn't gonna stand the test of time, and isn't gonna bear well with your own health and your own personal development. So what we want to achieve through this video is, how do we uncover what our highest value is? So for a moment, I want you to think about, in your life, what is your life demonstrating to you? Where do you like to place your time? How do you like to spend your money? What ignites the soul? What feedback do you get from your soul in certain choices? And to tap more into that wisdom, to then live more accordingly with your highest values. Now, this video came about, I'll give you a little backstory, because I give you an example of my life has demonstrated over the last I don't know, like 20 years, that I seem to value freedom as my highest value. So, for example, I recently had a back payment of money that I kind of knew was coming, but regardless, it did come, and it was, just a healthy chunk of money. And the first thing I thought was, okay, how can I use this to my greatest advantage where I can establish more freedom in my life? I remember just thinking that was my exact first thought, and that's why I started researching a video to then share it with you guys to help you guys establish, what's important to you. And I just remember thinking, that's so trippy that I'm almost doing that unconsciously, and it's like by default I'm doing it. I'm not pushing it. It's not coming from effort. It's just coming naturally. And anyway, basically this is allowed. I've got a house in England, and it now provides passive income. And all of a sudden my brain is now going mental with like, oh my God, like I can start traveling and earning money, and whilst I'm traveling, and this can open up more freedom for me and my kids, and where could we surf in the world? All of these things thoughts are starting to transpire just from simply this little bit of money coming into my account. And then naturally, with passive income, starting to think about your options. Now, there's also a polar of this. When I was in my early 20s, and I remember I was renovating a house, and I think I was like 22 or something, and I was in a hardware store in the UK, and it's called like B&Q, and I was in the light section choosing a light bulb, and I just remember in the pit of my chest, in my heart chakra area, not even in my gut, and I just remember thinking, what am I doing? This isn't me. What am I doing? And I walked out of the store. I don't even know if I bought the bloody light bulb, but I just remember I'm never ignoring that. That's direct feedback there from the soul that I'm not on the right path, and I'm not doing that again. So that's two examples of in my life where it was a yes and where it was a no. And I want to ask you a question is, what, now that you've heard a little bit more of this information, what are you spontaneously disciplined at? What do you just you cannot wait to get up in the morning and do? That's usually a sign of where one of your highest values is, and to follow that, the soul will always leave little breadcrumbs. And if you basically need any form of motivation to do anything, that's a good indicator that it's pretty low on your value list. So if you can either delegate those sorts of things or start moving to just more of the truth, and as you move more towards the truth, more truth will appear for you. Now I just want a bit of a side note here. So if you're being heavily influenced by other people's values, then you are going to naturally minimize, and that isn't going to bode well for your confidence, your self-esteem, and it's just not a nice feeling when you know it's not to be true. And what I want you guys to do is, I want you to do an honest audit of your life, and I want you to write down where you place your time, place your energy, and place your money. Write it down and see if you can identify a pattern to help you establish what your highest values are demonstrating. And you know, what are you here on this earth to create? We are all creators, but sometimes it can be quite difficult with all the noise to establish the truth. And yeah, it's something to think about. And I tell you what, when you do live in accordance to your highest values, you live a life of abundance in every way: health, relationships, alignment. There is nothing more insatiable than alignment with the divine. So let us know in the comments below your highest values. We're all different. There's no judgment here. And I'd love to hear your feedback on this video. Let us know in the comments below if this resonated or if this has helped in any way. If you want to work with me, head to the website newyou.io and I'll be happy to help.